She's going to be delivering some amazing content. Want to make sure that you all tune in and definitely follow along. If you follow her on her social media accounts, you'll understand why we had her here today. So I want to welcome you, Natasha. I want to thank you for partnering with the United States Black Chamber. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I'm so excited to be chatting with you today all about Instagram and content creation for your small business. So in the chat, let me know a little bit about your business and how are you currently using Instagram? Like, do you feel like you're killing it? Are you completely petrified? Let me know. It's a safe space and I will get ready to share my slides. I think I just need enabling of screen sharing and then we'll be ready to go. I'm very curious to hear where you're at in terms of Instagram. Okay, let's get these slides shared and we will hop right in. Okay, so I know we already kind of got familiar with who I am and what I do, but I really am an Instagram strategist and I really focus with video storytelling and I love Reels. I actually hosted a Reels challenge when Reels really startled the Instagram world and has been a big experiment of mine since then. I also do have a podcast and a few other things up my sleeve. But today I want to talk about Instagram and Instagram video because it's really the best way to market your business and position yourself as an expert and really humanize your brand, whether you're a personal brand, maybe you're a service provider, maybe you have a product, maybe you have a brick and mortar shop, whatever it looks like, Instagram is definitely going to be the place to connect with your people. And let's recap a little bit about all the things going on Instagram, because I understand it can be overwhelming to understand which parts of Instagram to use and how to use them. So first of all, we have the feed, which is when you're posting from Instagram directly to the feed, maybe a static post, maybe a multi-photo post, maybe a video. But this is probably what you're already doing on Instagram, just posting statically to the feed. And then we see that Instagram has changed a lot just over the past few years of adding in different types of video into the mix. So we have Instagram stories, which is emulated from Snapchat, which is that timely short form videos, which are posted in different sections. So usually around 15 seconds, and they go away after 24 hours unless they're saved somewhere like a highlight. So I really love stories. They have their own feed and they're really engaging and also a really important part of your strategy. And then we have live stream, which is kind of like what we're doing now. So completely unedited, and it often can be educational. There can be other guests. So maybe you're having an interview or a panel, but it's live, it's off the cusp, and people can engage and interact in the moment. And then we also have IGTV. So Instagram, you'll kind of see a theme. They really like to copy other social media platforms. So IGTV is quite literally their form of YouTube. So longer form video content. So over a minute long, and it can be up to an hour long, depending on where you're publishing your content and your account size. And then the most recent type of Instagram content, Reels, which was emulated from TikTok. So that short form, really snappy, often entertaining type of video content. Maybe there's text, maybe there's transitions, but all of these types of content can be consumed and created for your brand using Instagram. So I want to simplify things for you. If you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot going on already, but I'm going to give you a 3-part strategy for creating Instagram content that converts. We want it to work for your small business. So we're going to optimize, create, and then we're going to use handy dandy video. So let's get right into it. And if you happen to have any questions along the way, feel free to put them in that Q&A option in Zoom webinar and upvote any questions that you see that you want us to answer after the presentation part. Okay, optimizing. So of course, we're talking about content creation today, but the first thing you need to do is actually optimize your profile and your account, because we can create all this great content, but if your profile doesn't clearly communicate what your brand does and what your business is about, then people might not hit follow or they might not hit that purchase button, which of course is our goal. So I want to show you kind of what people are going through when it comes to your profile and your grid. That's like your home page on Instagram. And they really should be purposeful. So the first stage that someone might go to is they're an Instagram user, they're scrolling through Instagram and they discover your account. Maybe it's through a hashtag or a location or someone sharing it on their page, or maybe they have already discovered you from being shared or finding out about your brand and product. So they see your profile and the first decision they make is to follow you or not, because they could very well go to your profile and be like, I don't know if this is for me. I'm not interested. This is a little messy. This is a little all over the place. They could have a lot of different thoughts. So that's the first thought process that the profile and grid is really going to bring people through. And then you're going to have a follower. So let's say they decided to follow you, they're getting engaged, and they're starting to have questions and needs that you, as the expert with whatever your niche or industry is, can provide with the content you're creating. So let's say they have a question about wellness and you have a post sharing about certain types of wellness products that your brand provides that will help solve a issue of theirs. That is kind of that next stage of like serving your current followers, your engaged followers really, really well. And then the next stage that they're going to go through is they're going to become a warm lead. They're following you, they're engaging with their content, they're seeing you consistently show up on one or more parts of Instagram, and they're ready to take it to that next step. They're ready to purchase, they're ready to work with you, they're ready to visit your location. And that is why in all three of these stages, your profile and grid are going to convince them to take that next step or to not at all. So I'm going to give you a few very easy steps for optimizing your current Instagram bio. So you can literally just take some notes, make these changes right after this webinar, super simple and actionable. So the first thing is your Instagram handle. So this should be consistent across all of your social platforms. So whatever you're on, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, you want to make sure it's as consistent as it can be. So I'm Shine with Natasha all across the board. I don't want to be Natasha with Shine with Natasha here, Shine with Natasha asterisk or whatever. We want to really be concise here. You also want to clearly say your name, your brand name, or your business name. You want it to be super clear. You don't want it to be something that's not relevant to your business. And unless your name is taken or there's a special situation, avoid using unnecessary characters or letters so it's very easy to search for your handle. So that's the first part of your bio we want to optimize. And then we are going to move to your name. So your name is the name part of your actual bio, and it actually doesn't always have to be just your name. So you can actually add searchable keywords related to your niche or the content that you're creating. You also can add your name if you have this space to, if it's notable with your brand, like I'm Natasha, so that's something that people might be searching for. But what you really want to focus on is searchable words. So for me, it's video tips, Instagram strategy, things like that. So you want to make sure you put that in the name section of your bio. And then we have your profile photo. So I find that there's two ways of thinking about this depending on the type of business that you have. So the first can be a high quality branded headshot. So maybe it has colors. Maybe if you're a photographer, you're holding your camera. You want it to be very high quality, not just a selfie, and you want it to be branded in whatever way that means for you. Obviously for me, it means being very yellow. But if you're not a personal brand, if you're not a consultant, if you're not a coach, if you're not a service provider where you are the main point of contact or the main face of your business, then you'd want to go with a logo. So if you're an agency, a media company, a brick and mortar shop, that's when you're maybe going to want to go with a logo. But I almost always recommend using a photo if you can, because it's going to make a deeper connection when you're commenting and in the direct messages with your followers and your audience. So definitely that's some tips for your photo. And then we have your actual bio copy. And we only have a few characters here, so you want to make sure you're using them very, very wisely. So first we have your I help statement. And this is going to look different depending on your brand, but you want to say what you do, who you help, who you serve very clearly in that first line. And then you want to communicate what problem it is that you solve and what people can really expect from following you. What are you an expert at? What tips are you providing? What are you creating? What are you building? What are you selling? I also personally really like using bulleteds in your actual bio. So instead of having all this in one big long sentence, having it in bullet points, maybe with some emojis that have your brand colors or represent your industry really well, I think is a lot easier for people to consume, and you can focus more on those keywords that you have. And then you want to use any related hashtags or related accounts because those can be linked in your bio. So maybe if you have a sister brand, a sister shop, for me, it's my podcast. So that's something else you'd want to link because when you type it out in your bio, it is linked and people can go there as well. And then the most important part, how are we converting people? How are we getting people to take that next step? And that is by having a very specific call to action in that last line of your bio. So for me, I have my 30-day Reels challenge, 60 strategic Reels prompts. Just by having that in my bio, we're generating sales and interest related to that product. So you could easily have a call to action to shop, to book a consult, to maybe join your newsletter or download a freebie. But you want to make sure it's a strategic call to action to get people off of Instagram and into that next stage that you're going to bring them through. And then we have your link in bio. This is your last part of optimizing your bio. So there's a lot of different options you have here, but in general, you want to avoid just a generic homepage. You don't want them to go to a homepage and then get completely lost on why they went there and not have an action they can actually take. I think we've all clicked a beautiful homepage on our mobile device and then be like, why was I even here? And then you bounce off. But you also want to not do the opposite. You don't want to have too many links available for people to click on in a link tree or a link in bio or whatever tool you're choosing. I think the more specific those call to actions or links can be, the better. So really think of what's going to move the needle for your business. Is it a consult? Is it shopping new arrivals? Is it opting in for your freebie? Are there upcoming events? You want to make sure that link is very specific because we only have a few places you can add that link in your bio, especially if you have under 10,000 followers and you don't have that swipe up functionality. And just a little tip there is that vanity URL, if you can have it be branded in some way, whether it has your website name, your actual business name, that is also very helpful. And the last part of optimizing your highlights. We don't want to forget about those. So I know I mentioned Instagram stories. They only last 24 hours, so you can save them to your Instagram highlights. So if you're wondering how many should I start out with, 5 is a really great minimum because that's what people will see automatically when they go to your profile. And personally, I don't think you can have too many highlights. Like after 5, keep on going because I really think that as long as they're intentional, they have your best Instagram stories content, they're serving a purpose by giving people things that they can instantly binge and learn more about. And really make sure you're keeping these current and up to date. I know I'm probably not the only one that's guilty of completely neglecting your Instagram story highlights and them having 100-week-old content. No guilt here, but make sure they're really up to date and current so they're really moving the needle more forward for you. As for your covers, there's a few different options you have. So you don't always want to have to choose from the stories that are in it. Let's think of how we can make those covers a little bit extra branded. So maybe it's colors, maybe it's icons, maybe it's really high quality photos, or maybe it's just a plain background with text. But you want the covers to make sense for your brand. So mine are yellow, they have different icons, and they're very simple to navigate and people will know what they're about. And then you want to add in your titles. You don't have a lot of space here, so really focus on 1 to 2 words that clearly communicate what the highlight is about and be as specific as possible. So those are just some very simple changes you can make to your bio to make sure it's really optimized and intentional. So I want to talk a little bit about a few highlight ideas that you can use for your brand if you're like, I don't really know what highlights to use. And a lot of them might actually be familiar because they could be pages you already have on your website. So maybe it's frequently asked questions, maybe it's about your brand or an introduction, maybe it's outlining your services or free resources, Q&A, quick tips, shopping. There's just so many options here, but kind of think of them like website tabs or blog posts. So really specific and giving value to your audience. So now that we've optimized our profile, everything's looking really great. We are then going to get into the content creation. So I first want to start when it comes to Instagram content, we want to start with content pillars. Maybe you've heard of them before. Maybe you've heard of content buckets, content categories. They're essentially all the same thing, but these are categories or topics that you'll consistently be creating around for your brand on Instagram. So if you've really struggled with knowing what to create on Instagram, what topics people care about, having these content pillars, there's usually around 5 of them, is really going to help you understand, what ideas are relevant and maybe which ones feel random and not really relevant to your business. It's really going to help you be consistent because you're going to consistently be giving value related to those categories versus straying off and creating random content. It's also going to just make it cohesive and branded on Instagram. People will know you as that person that's going to create certain types of content, that business that creates certain types of content on Instagram. And easily, it'll make creating content so much easier because you already know the categories that you're trying to generate ideas around. So I thought, why not give you some examples so you can visualize what this is going to look like on Instagram for myself and for a product-based business so you can kind of see how it's different. So these are my content pillars. I have 5 of them. And you'll see some of them are very specific, but some of them are more general. Some of them are more personal. Some of them you might see on my Instagram grid, but some of them you might only see on Instagram stories or a certain type of Instagram. So my first pillar is Instagram for business. So this is super broad and the first thing that people think of when they come to my page. And then my other pillar is Instagram video. While they might seem related, they're actually separate because I want to make sure not to neglect the macro of Instagram for business, but also not the micro, which is specifically using video. I also love to talk about scaling and systems, how I'm scaling my business, what systems I use, things like that. I also share my home life. So I like to share my plants, my office, what I'm decorating around in my space, and then entrepreneur wellness. So I love to talk about mental health, how I'm taking care of myself, morning routines. And so whenever I'm creating content, whether it's on my feed, on Instagram stories, and my different types of video, that is really what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of these pillars. And if they don't fall in these pillars, then it might not be relevant. And also understanding as a person, as a business, as I evolve, my pillars are also going to change and evolve. So maybe when I'm not doing as much office decor, home life might shift out and be something completely different. But in general, these are my content pillars, which makes creating content so much easier. So now I want to give another brand that I think is really doing great on Instagram, and it's Gold. They are a Black-owned wellness brand, and they have some awesome content and wellness products. So that's what they sell is wellness products and blends and matcha and things like that. So their first pillar, and this is me just guessing, I don't work for them. That would be very fun. But the first pillar is their wellness products, how to use them, what they are, the benefits, the actual, different ingredients in them. That's their first content pillar. And then another pillar is food recipes. So how are people using those products and creating and baking and making recipes around them? Then they also might have some content around daily wellness rituals because a lot of their products are things that you use daily in your morning or evening routines. So that's what a lot of their content is created around. And then community is really huge for them. So this means showing their founders, having them come on live, having them create content, showing how they're using it, but also their actual community of customers. They're taking over their stories, they're reposting them on their Instagram page. That's a huge part of their content pillars. And then self-care, because along with wellness products that are very good for taking care of yourself, they also have face masks and other elements. So instead of Gold being a product business just posting about their products. They're posting about a lot of different things that are related to their products, but are really going to give something interesting for their followers to be a part of, and not just them being sold to all the time. So hopefully this kind of got the wheels turning on what your content pillars maybe already are and what they could look like to really make creating content so much easier. So now let's talk a little about the visuals and how you're going to pair that with your content pillars. It's funny, I just did a reel about if I think your grid matters in Instagram in 2021. And I do think that it matters to an extent as a business. I think that it should be very distinct. I think it should be branded. I think it should be balanced. I don't think it needs to be perfect, but I do think that it does need to have a certain flow and feel to it as a business representing themselves on Instagram. So there's just a few ways that you can maybe make an aesthetic or a brand on Instagram visually when people are looking at your grid, which is the preview of the images or videos that you're sharing on your feed. So maybe it's the presets or filters, which are editing settings when you're editing the images or photos. So maybe it's really bright, maybe it's moody, maybe it's really warm. So maybe it's how you're editing your images. Maybe it's the photo style. So some people, like brands like Majuri, they really like the photos that are actually kind of look like you're taking it with your phone. It's really relatable. It's really engaging. Some people actually really like to use more professional photos where they have a really cool backdrop and props. So it really just depends on your brand, but using that consistently is really what people are going to start to know you as. And then another element, which is one that I use, is the text, fonts, colors, and graphics that you're using. So using around the same fonts and colors and elements to really create a brand. And as you can see, these are all very different grids, but they are all consistently using at least one of these visual elements to create a cohesive grid. So that's definitely something you want to consider when creating your content. Now let's move on to the caption writing part of your content creation. So this is the copy that is going along with the visuals that you're creating. So these are just some quick tips that I think will make your captions more reader friendly, more engaging, and going to perform a lot better on your posts. So the first thing is branded emojis or bullet points. So these are going to add some visual interest to your post, because if we're just reading a bunch of text, it might not be as engaging and easy to read. So using emojis that maybe represent what you're talking about, the emotion that you're talking about, maybe it's numbers, maybe it's bullets, maybe it's colors, but using those in your caption, as you can see, just by having a few of these in this caption that I'm using for an example, really adds a lot of variety and makes it a lot more interesting to read. And then a big thing that no matter where you're reading copy, people do not like to read a big blurb of words. Can anyone else relate with that? Because I know I'm definitely that way. So adding in line breaks every 2 to 3 lines at least is really going to make sure that your words aren't getting all mumble jumbled together and people are easily able to read each sentence and line and thought. And the last one is you can definitely utilize capitalizing every single word and letter to kind of act like headers or bolded words. So it's going to add a little bit more focus. It's going to really enunciate certain words that you're using, or it's going to break up your sentences, kind of like it would in a blog post or an email. So these are just some quick caption tips. And now I'm going to get into my caption writing formula before we move on to video content creation. So first of all, you want to have a very strong hook. So this hook is really what's going to entice people to stop their scroll and read more. You don't want to just say happy Friday or here's today's post. You really want to give people a reason why they should read more and why they should even be giving your caption the light of day. So from this caption, for example, I was talking about VIP days, a new type of service. So I said the hottest service offering right now, VIP days. Instantly what it's about and why you should keep listening, why it's important. So definitely utilize that first line or that hook of your caption wisely. And then you're going to want to add value. And I think that captions can be very short, but they also can be long. It kind of just depends on your brand voice and also the content you're creating. So I like to give the key takeaways, the main thoughts of the post, tips, and really get people intrigued with what it is that you're going to say in the caption or tell a story. So this is kind of where those bullet points, those emojis, those line breaks are really going to go in to add some more visual interest to this main section of the caption. And then we have a call to action. So just like we have a call to action in our bio, we need to make sure we have a call to action in every single one of our captions. And this can quite literally be taking action, like going to the link in your bio and joining your newsletter or shopping a certain product or reading a blog post. But sometimes the call to action can just be to engage. Maybe it's asking, what are their thoughts? Maybe it's encouraging them to save or share the post with their audience. Think of how you can add a call to action that makes sense with the content that you're sharing. And before we move on to video, here's just a few of my favorite video and or content tools for your feed. And then I'll share some video tools as well. So Canva, what an amazing tool for small businesses. I love this for creating graphics and designing graphics and templates really easily, especially if you're wanting that to be a part of the brand visuals and your grid. Then I love scheduling posts. So if you're struggling on staying consistent on your feed, maybe it means you need to schedule your posts for the week. So they'll automatically post or automatically notify you when it's time to publish your Instagram post. So while you're running your business, you're doing other things, your Instagram posts will be flowing and will be published on Instagram. So I personally love using Later for this, but Planoly, Buffer, Creator Studio, there's tons of great tools. Just figure out which one works best for you. And then we mentioned having a strategic link in your bio. So these are just a few tools that if you don't want to build it on your own website, you can access. So I personally use Linktree, but link in bio is a great option if you have a lot of blog posts or maybe products. And then Milkshake is a really great option if you have no website and you want to make your own little mini website. It's a really great tool for that. So let's move on to the last part, and that is video. So hopefully I don't lose you here and you're not petrified of creating videos and showing up on videos, because I really think that this is what is going to move the needle forward for your business when it comes to the content that you're creating on Instagram. So we need to pick your video type. And this might be just starting out with one type of video, or it could mean eventually utilizing all of them in different ways in your strategy. So I know we already kind of briefed over the different types of video, but let's actually talk about what they're for and what goal they can help you achieve. So first of all, Reels. Reels are really what Instagram is pushing right now. It's the newest part of Instagram, and they always love to push their newest features. So this is really great for growth. It's great for organic reach. It's great for showing your personality. You don't need to dance or point, but if that's your jam, you can totally dance and point. But I really love Reels because it's such short, digestible type of video. And with all of us consuming content, our attention spans are kind of not the best. And Reels is really great for grabbing your attention and giving a lot of value in a short period of time. Then we have Instagram stories. And I love Instagram stories because when people react or reply to an Instagram story that they're watching, this leads to a direct conversation in the messages with your ideal client or customer. That is invaluable for building those relationships with your community. So I think if we can utilize stories and get people engaging and being a part of your brand, it's really going to move the needle forward for your business. Then we have lives, and I think lives are really underutilized for collaborating with other people. So now you have the option to host live rooms, which you can have up to 3 other guests. So it's kind of like a panel, which is super fun. So if you're really scared of videos, it's going to make it a lot easier because you're talking to other people versus just talking to your phone. You also can host Q&As. You can just do having one guest on a live. There's really a lot of options, but in general, lives are really engaging because people can comment and interact in the moment versus publishing something and getting the comments afterwards. And then we have IGTV, which is really great if you feel like longer form type of videos is really going to be beneficial for you. So if you feel like you want to go over that 2-minute mark, over that 5-minute mark, and really create valuable pieces of videos, this is really going to be a great place for you to be. And there's also the option to organize your IGTV videos in series. So kind of like how Netflix is super bingeable and people love to just binge episode after episode, you can quite literally do that with your IGTV videos, which is really going to increase the retention that you're going to get. So hopefully I kind of gave you a few options and proposed maybe a video type that's going to feel really appealing to you and your business. And let's get to the question I know you're dying to ask. How many videos do I need to create? How often do I need to post my videos? And I don't like to give a set in stone number because it really depends on each business owner and brand. So I want to give you a few questions for you to reflect on when deciding how you want to add video into your posting schedule. So the first thing is, what goal is video helping you achieve? Is it maybe growing your community and collaborating with people? Is it selling more of your product and getting more awareness around the product or offer that you have? Is it positioning yourself as an expert to attract more opportunities like for speaking or podcasts or things like that? Really figure out what the goal is so you understand what type of video you really want to dial in on and how frequently you really need to be using it. The other big one is capacity for video content creation, because maybe you have a small marketing team, but maybe you are the marketing team. You are the one-man show or one-woman show. And maybe you don't have a video editor or a graphic designer or all these different things that go into creating great content. So maybe that means, really focus on what you have the capacity for versus trying to do what like a Gary Vee, for example, has, who has hundreds of people creating content for them. You really want to be realistic so you can maintain it and do it consistently. And the most important thing, what's going to resonate best with your ideal audience and with your industry? Because some of those video types might feel like a perfect fit for your brand, but some might feel like they don't fit as well. So really kind of reflect on these different types of questions. And I want to simplify it really simply. If you're like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what I like, I kind of have an idea of what my answers might be to those questions. So this is quite literally going to be your video strategy in terms of content. First of all, stories. I think stories are non-negotiable. I think that 50% of people on Instagram are not scrolling through their feed. They are tapping through stories. So I think if you can have Instagram stories as a part of your content strategy, it's really going to be beneficial for you. It's going to make ready to binge content, whether people are just finding you or they're a part of your community. And just a few tips here is you definitely want to post daily and multiple times throughout the day if possible. And think of what those connection points are going to be. Are they behind the scenes? Are they showing you packing a product? Are they showing you working with a client? What does that look like? And how can it really be a connection point that shows your followers what it's like to be in your brand or your business? And then the other element is choose stories. So we got to do that. That's a non-negotiable. And then what else are we posting on your feed? Because of course the feed is really important, but IGTVs, Reels, they are shared directly to your feed, and lives can be shared directly to IGTV. So all the video types of content I mentioned can be shared to your feed. So it doesn't mean that you have to add more posts on top of what you're already doing for your feed. Maybe it means you just need to shift some things around so you can add in some more feed posts or videos into the mix. So really, whatever type of video you choose, you want to provide value, you want to show off your offer or your product or your shop. You want to really focus on attracting new followers, how to put out the type of content you know your people are going to want to see, and essentially being a problem solver. What are the questions? What are the problems that you have the answers to? And that's going to give people a reason to follow. So quite literally, your strategy could be Instagram stories and lives. It could be Instagram stories and reels. It could be Instagram stories and maybe a few live streams in IGTV. It can be any combination, but it quite literally is just simply choosing 2 to start with and then scaling and growing from there. I just want to share some video tips if you're really intimidated with creating videos. My favorite way to create videos is taking a content idea that maybe you got from your actual content pillars that we already brainstormed and turning it into a video concept or a video outline. So first of all, you're going to want to brainstorm what are those topics, those ideas, those questions, those trends, the needs that your community have, and really think about them in terms of those content pillars we already mapped out. And then once you have this big old list of topics that you've brainstormed and you're adding to all the time, then outline them or script them. What I quite literally mean is saying, what are the main points of this video? What are the talking points of this video? What are the main tips or insights I want to share in this video, and outlining it for each video. Sometimes it might be a simple bullet points, or for some people, it might mean scripting every single word you want to say. It really comes down to preference, but outlining any type of video, whether it's a reel, an IGTV, a story, or even a live stream, is really going to help you show up a lot more confidently with your videos. And also in that outline, don't be afraid to add in props or transitions, or if you want to get B-roll clips, or if you want to edit your video a certain type of way. So this is really going to help you if you're like, I don't even know where to start with my video ideas. Just follow this simple framework of taking your topic, your idea from that content pillar, really outlining it and kind of showing what that video is going to be about, and adding in any details like props or transitions or anything else along those lines. And these are just a few tools that I think we will find very, very helpful when it comes to creating videos. Canva, again, we love Canva. If you're wanting to create some cover photos for your Reels or your IGTV videos. InShot is my personal favorite video editing app. It's iOS and Android friendly, and it is super robust while also being very simple to use. And it has a free plan. Veed.io is a desktop application, and it's really great for transcribing videos. It's great for adding titles to videos. It's great for editing videos. So definitely one of my favorite tools there. And then you also might want some video tools. So maybe you want a phone stand or a tripod. This is my handy dandy phone stand. I absolutely love it, and I use it daily. As you can tell, it's right there. I love it. I always have it on me. And you can just simply put your phone in here, and it makes filming really easily for stories, lives, whatever you need. You can find these on Amazon, or you can get a formal tripod. Ring lights are great. Personally, when it comes to lighting, I just love a really great bright window. I think that's how you're going to get your best lighting on a bright sunny day. So hopefully those tips were really helpful in terms of just creating content for your Instagram. Hopefully it gave you some little action items you can start to add into your strategy, and definitely would love to connect with you on Instagram. But let's start with the Q&A. I would love to answer some questions and dive a little bit deeper there.
Natasha, that was a lot of great content, and we had a lot of questions that came through the feed. And so thankfully we have enough time to try to address as many of those as possible. So really excited to have heard and witnessed all of this greatness coming through this webinar, but let's dive into those questions. You just mentioned, some of the free user apps for content creation, et cetera, graphic design, real video content. You even gave us some hints on equipment to use. What other behind the scenes things maybe that you could share with us that maybe some of the more advanced folks can use? Is there something more that you could tell us?
Definitely. I would say that when it comes to tools, there's so many different options of different apps you can utilize. I would say one app that's really fun, especially if you have a product, and you want to test around stop motion, which stop motion is kind of what we remember in like those Christmas movies where things slowly move, but that's a really great way to market a product. And the app that I really love for this is LifeLapse. So you don't need a very fancy software. You don't need a very fancy tool. You just need the app. I can actually type it in the chat because I know it's a little bit easier, but LifeLapse is a really fun option if you're wanting to do stop motion. And then another app that I tend to really utilize is Mojo or Moho. I'm not sure how you say it. But this is a really great app for creating animated stories. So that's like probably, if I'm like thinking of anything really fancy, those are the ones I use. But I find that InShot is what I use like 90% of the time, along with Canva, because they're just so robust and really easy to use.
Right. And they're low cost, right? I mean, it's not going to
Right.
break the bank for you to use, right? All
Yep.
right. Perfect. Thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
In your opinion, does paying for ghost followers work? And does it have benefit?
No, it does not. It will hurt your account over time. And you really got to think about it is yes, it might make your followers look like you have more followers. It might make you look like you have more engagement, but they're never going to buy from you. They're never going to buy. So even if you have, like, I know I had a client that I worked with, she had like 300 followers, not a ton, but she was making sales. She was booking clients. And that's all that really matters as a small business or a brand on Instagram. So I would much rather you focus your energy and your money and your efforts to maybe getting some assistance with your content, or maybe focusing more on your content creation or collaborating and tapping into new audiences. I have, thousands of followers now, but I started at 0 followers, at 100 followers. And it really was just consistency. And it's such a slow game, but it's going to be so much more beneficial because I've worked with so many clients where they've bought followers or bots or ghost followers, and Instagram knows those things. It really is tapping into it, and it's going to just harm your account in the long run. So please, please, if anything, don't do that thing if you can help it.
Great answer, great response. And I appreciate your honesty on that one. Next question. What is the biggest mistake seen in new small businesses when it comes to managing their Instagram profiles?
Really great question. I'd say the first thing I can think of is not using video. I think that in the past on Instagram, just posting on the feed was totally fine. But now we need to be using the app holistically. And I think that's when you're going to see a lot better results in it. So I'd say that's the top thing. And along with that is maybe not showing the face behind the brand.
Right.
I think that people connect with people. We're so used to seeing ads or seeing products or seeing all these perfectly curated things, but people want to see the founder. They want to see the team behind it. So I think
Right.
using video and showing your face is really going to go a long way for small businesses, and not enough people are utilizing that.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. Great response again. Now, tell us, there's probably some tools that you use personally that, kind of make your content and your videos, really shine. I know you talked about the one app. Maybe give us a little bit more about the equipment that maybe you use. I know you talked about the ring light, the microphone, obviously. What
Yes.
else do folks need to do? I see you have a very nice and pleasant background there. What else should folks be doing to make their videos go well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one thing I did intentionally do is like, if you have the capacity and the space to do it, making a branded little corner or wall or cubby that you can film in, I think definitely really helps. Also, when I was choosing my office, I tried to get really great light, and I'm actually a pretty scrappy video creator. Like even before this webinar, I had some extra time and I was like, let me just create some reels.
Yeah.
So I often just put my phone on the phone stand, make sure it's really clean, a very simple thing, but make sure my lenses are clean, make sure I have really great lighting. And that's like quite literally what I do for most of my videos, and using InShot. I think that you can get really fancy, but with Instagram, I often found that kind of the less curated and perfect your videos are, almost the better that they resonate with your audience. So I wish I had a magical tool, but I'd say I most of the time use InShot. I use my phone. I use my phone stand, natural lighting. I will say that if I'm doing a voiceover in my phone, and maybe I'm doing a voiceover explaining something, I will plug in headphones. So still not very fancy, but I will plug in headphones into my phone because it's going to reduce the echo a little bit, and it's going to make the video quality of the audio just so much stronger versus like AirPods or something like that. It's just going to make the quality better.
Perfect, perfect. See, you guys are getting all this good information and you're getting it from the expert. Let's turn our attention to the photo descriptions. Is there some formula or a key to photo descriptions that you use? What are some examples of good calls to action?
Yes, great calls to action. I think the main thing is like a really good hook is going to go a long way when it comes to what you're adding to your feed, photos and posts and graphics. Really having that strong hook. I think often I'm scrolling on my feed and I see a great photo or I see a great graphic, but if it doesn't draw me in and say why I should stop scrolling, it's just so easy to keep scrolling. So that's like my main thing when with copywriting that I think is really helpful. And trying to reduce the fluff. I think that especially as writers, and we know our brand so well, as we'll add all these things, we'll type all these things, but really focusing on like, what do people really need to know and how you can bring them through that journey. Like, here's the problem, here's where you are, and here's a solution and why I discovered it, and really bringing people through it. And great example of great hook. That's a really great question. So saying like, it could be as simple as like 4 tips for better, whatever it is.
Right.
Or maybe it's like the wellness hack you didn't know you needed. You're like, what is the wellness hack? I want to know what the wellness hack is. So kind of just quite literally saying like, kind of like cliffhangers, or kind of having like a blog title or a newsletter subject line, like really draw people in to either say what it's about or what is going to be in the post. And as for call to actions, if it's a strategic call to action, I always say, don't just say link in bio. That's not really going to incentivize me to do much, but maybe go a little bit deeper, like link in bio to access my free resource to learn more about this, or link in bio to shop our newest arrivals, which is featuring this print and this size, or something like that. So if you're going to do more of a sell, that's definitely what I like to do. Another great call to action is actually using PSs, which is actually an email marketing strategy. But it's actually really works well in Instagram captions too, because a lot of times people will skim, and they're going to go to the way end of the caption and they're like, okay, what did I really need to know? So I love to use the PS to actually take people into that call to action, whether it's to go to the link in my bio to do whatever it is, newsletter, buy an offer, DM me to start a conversation, book a consult, things like that. But I'd say the calls to action that I use the most frequently are save this post for later. You're really going to want to save this and reference it later, or share this with a friend that needs this advice too. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this or that? Giving people options and just inviting them to engage and to be a part of the conversation, I find is that little bit of differentiator from people just looking at a post and being a part of the post, is like training them to be a part of it. So those are definitely a few tips when it comes to the captions that you're putting with your photos and your videos.
Well, now who would have thought, using something as simple as PS, which has been around since we've been writing
Right.
letters, from back in the day. That's actually a good tool to sort of hook people into looking for that extra value that you might provide. So, wow, really great response there. What are some trending hashtags for small businesses to use these days?
Yes. So I'll tell you a little bit about hashtag strategy and what I've done for clients. I've done social media management for clients. This is kind of the process that I bring them through, because it's going to be depending on each person, each brand, their hashtags are going to look different. So what I recommend is those content pillars that we mentioned,
Yes.
really outline what are the keywords or the topics or the types of content you'd be creating for each content pillars. So you're maybe going to have 5 columns and just brainstorm a bunch of keywords and topics and words that you think maybe people would be searching about related to it. And then I go into Instagram under tags and I just search them. And I start to see how many posts those hashtags have, because you want to make sure that you're not posting on a hashtag that's too big. If a
Right.
hashtag has a million plus, your post really isn't going to be seen. And if anything, it's going to attract the wrong type of people. So try
Right.
to focus on under a million, maybe over 50,000. So kind of those niche hashtags that are going to be really specific. An example I like to give is for my post, I'm not going to maybe say female entrepreneur, but maybe I'm going to
Right.
do fempreneur or something a little bit more specific and niche. And just by looking at those different posts to see what's under tags. I also really like the app. I think it's called Hashtag Expert. Let me see. I'm pretty sure that that's yes, hashtag expert. So that's a really great one for actually searching hashtags, and then it's going to populate some other keywords and recommendations related to it.
See, I knew you had some more tools in there.
Had
You were holding
more.
back on us. You were holding back. All right, I got a couple more questions. I want to maybe try to maybe even lightning round. That's okay.
Yeah.
Number one question that's coming up is: will this session be available for later to review? Absolutely. Natasha has been gracious enough to agree to, provide us with this content, allow us to record it so that we can share with others. So thank you so much for that, Natasha. Got a specific question here. I don't know if we need to demo it or not, but maybe it's something that we just sort of send folks back to your Instagram page for. How do you add those custom highlight icons on the profile? Is that something that is, you got to be super intuitive to do, or is it just something that's easy?
Yeah, so when you go to create a new highlight, so whether you have a highlight that's already created or you go to create it, and then you go to edit, cover, edit highlight, when you scroll all the way to the end, to the left, there's actually like those little camera roll icon, which looks like a little mountain with a little sun. And that's where you'll actually be able to access different images from your camera roll. So that's where you'll be able to upload anything that you have for your covers. So just edit your highlight, then edit cover, and then scroll all the way to the end and you'll find your camera roll. But I also do have a tutorial and I can send that over, but you should be able to find it when you're just poking around.
Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can get that tutorial from you as well, and then we'll
Awesome.
include that in what we send to the
Yes.
attendees. Next question, Natasha. How do I keep so many people from unfollowing? What might I be doing wrong in that area?
Yeah, really great question. I think that we talked a little about hashtags. So maybe if you're using too big of a hashtag and you're attracting too many people, that could be it. I think another thing related to losing followers is, of course, we talked about we don't want to buy followers, we don't want to buy ghost followers, but Instagram is constantly cleaning out those types of spammy accounts. So for whatever reason, intentionally or unintentionally, if you've tracked those people, that's a very natural thing that's happening is Instagram is getting rid of those types of accounts. So that could be why. I also say that I could show you a screenshot of my analytics right now. I lose tons of followers every day. I lose
Yeah,
followers every single day. And it's just a part of the process. You want to make sure, of course, we're not in a deficit that you're losing more than you're gaining. But I think it's a part of the process. And like I say, we always want to go for quality over having so
right.
many followers. As long as you're keeping the really great engaged people around, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But another thing you can do is kind of maybe audit your content and see, are you creating what you want to create, what you think people want, or are you creating what people really, really actually need and want? And maybe means looking at the replay and seeing like, maybe I need to work on my visuals, or maybe I need to use some more video, or maybe I need to revamp my caption. It could just mean a really small change, or it could just be the natural flow of kind of how things are going.
Yeah, yeah. Good thing to monitor and always kind of keep your eye on the followership, the follower level. Next question I've got for you is, you mentioned earlier, a lot of our businesses, the entrepreneur is the marketing department, right? How do you organize your content creation schedule for those folks that it's just a one woman or one man shop? How should you organize that schedule?
Definitely. So I think the first thing is you want to have some type of content calendar. I personally really love Airtable. It's kind of like Google Sheets, but way, way, way better. It's a lot more customizable and a little bit more intuitive. So I like to create content calendars with that so I can organize my content pillars, my caption, the visual I need, the video I need to film. So I think creating a content calendar is really helpful. You can do that in Excel, you can do it in a document. There's really so many options. You don't need to use Airtable, but just having a content calendar tool so you can outline what campaigns are coming up, what topics do you have, what events or holidays are happening. So you can kind of look at your month from a whole and easily plan related to those dates. So that's the first planning stage. I think the other stage is using a scheduler is going to change the game for you. You won't be saving content on your phone. You won't be saving content in the notes on your phone. You can literally just have everything uploaded into a scheduler like later and automate your posts because you won't have to post in the moment. It helps you plan and see everything strategically versus posting, day to day, week to week. So that really helps me. And along with that is batching. So batching is sitting down and instead of me writing one post start to finish, I'm going to write a week's worth of posts or a month's worth of posts from start to finish. And that might sound really intimidating and scary. So just start with 1 week, maybe then 2 weeks, and work your way up from there. But I think it's going to be really helpful. So you only have to sit down one day a week, one day a month. And that's going to be the time you write all your captions or film all your videos. So it's not going to break up your days as much. Because, of course, we have businesses and we want to be in our businesses, not on Instagram all the time. I even do Instagram and I don't want to be on Instagram all the time. So those tips really help me.
No, I like that technique. You sort of develop an inventory of content that you can
Yes.
then track and monitor as you deploy it. And then you can kind of track engagement as well and see what worked as well. And then you can kind of mine information later on down the road, such as, what was really engaging about this post, who engaged it, et cetera. So I like that technique. I've got another question here, and this is probably a general question, and we probably got a couple more minutes. But how much time do you spend on your business, on marketing, on working with clients? And then what is the list of those actions that you do daily, weekly, monthly? I know you just kind of covered, coming up with your content, but give us maybe a percentage of time that you spend on those three things: on your business, on marketing, and with clients.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think it depends on the business because, of course, I can give you my percentages, but I do Instagram. So that would not be fair to you, right?
Right, right, right.
But I would say that I always comes down to capacity, understanding how much time and energy you truly have. And I think that if it's an hour every day, maybe you round that up each week. I think that's a really great amount of time. So maybe that's 5 hours a week. Maybe it's 10 hours a week is what you use for marketing. I think that's a pretty fair amount. Maybe it's like a third of your time because, of course, you want to be attracting new clients. You want to be attracting new customers. I think that's definitely a great way to go about it. And you want to figure out, first of all, generating ideas. Second of all, creating the content ideas, writing the captions, filming the videos, doing the live stream, creating the graphic, whatever that looks like. And then community management. You want to be engaging in your comment section. You want to be in those direct messages and having those conversations. So I'd say those are like the main sectors that you really want to dedicate your time. And by setting a timer or setting a time limit or setting an amount of time you're spending each day, make sure you're not in the scroll of Instagram. And instead, during that time that you are on Instagram, you're engaging and you're creating relationships and you're creating content and showing up in a really intentional way. So I'd say that's like a kind of a good formula that people can use.
Wow. Natasha, you have been amazing today. I don't know how you do it, but you do it. And you provided a lot of great value to our member businesses, our chambers, and to those businesses that are watching that are unchambered. So, what I want to do, again, I want to thank you, but I also want to share some information about the United States Black Chamber with those folks that are watching in these last 90 seconds. And so, I'm going to share the screen. Hang tight with me there for a second. But we want to thank you all for attending and want to make sure that you all are aware of all the other events that take place at the chamber. So what we have is a set of resources that we use uh, from the chamber. And we have resources provided by United States Black Chamber Community Economic Development Corporation. So I want to make sure that you all get a chance to go out and take a look at some of the other courses and content that we provide. One of the things that we do is we've developed a platform. It's called the Buy Black platform, made specifically for Black-owned businesses. It's sort of like a directory, but it's going to be so much more. We're going to create opportunities for businesses like yours to connect with major corporations as well as federal government for opportunities to do business with both of those entities. So you want to make sure that you go out to buyblack.us, register your business. We will also have a certification program for businesses that want to designate themselves as Black-owned businesses. So you want to make sure that you get involved with this program as soon as possible. So check out our buyblack.us platform. Next thing, if you like this content, you like the one that you attended today with Natasha, which everyone seems to love in the chat and the comments field, you want to make sure that you go out to our virtual webinars page and our on-demand webinars page. So you go out there and you can schedule for the next set of courses that the United States Black Chamber is offering. You can also watch a playback of this course in the next couple of days. You can watch a playback of all of our recorded content. You get a chance to learn even more and dig deeper into some of the content that some of our webinar providers have provided, such as Natasha today. The other thing that we want you to know is that you can visit the United States Black Chamber of Commerce anytime, 24/7, learn more about the chamber, and then also sign up to become a member of the United States Black Chamber or one of our local chambers. We have over 140 chambers across 42 states. Want to make sure that you're connected to not only the content, but to the people, to the great people like Natasha. Just definitely just stay connected to all of our service providers, stay connected to other peer businesses and to the leaders at the United States Flag Chamber. Again, I'm Philip Dunn. I'm one of the program managers for the United States Flag Chamber. And I was so glad that we were able to provide you all with some tremendous content today. And Natasha, I don't know if you want to take us out with some last words on where we can follow you and what you have coming up next.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and so many great resources that I hope everyone really taps into. And it's just been an honor to be a part of it. Definitely the best place to find me is on Instagram at Shine with Natasha, and also on my website at Shine with Natasha. I have a newsletter when I send out weekly tips. So that's another really great place to be. But it's just been such a great time connecting with you, Phil, and really with everyone in the chat. It was really awesome.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone has a great, safe, and a happy weekend. Thank you all again from the United States Flag Chamber. Y'all have a great one.